So using these concepts of the Gita, have you seen improvement in the prognosis of your patients?
Oh, enormous.
You're able to quantify it?
Enormous. അത് മറ്റുള്ളവർക്ക് മാത്രമല്ല, എൻ്റെ ലൈഫിലും ഇപ്പോൾ എൻ്റെ വൈഫിൻ്റെ അൺഫോർച്ചുനേറ്റ് സഡൻ അബ്രപ്റ്റ് ഡിമൈസ് കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് ഐ വാസ് ഡെവസ്റ്റേറ്റഡ്. എനിക്ക് കോവിഡ് കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ടിരിക്കുകയായിരുന്നു. എനിക്ക് ഐ ഹാഡ് എ ബാഡ് കോവിഡ് ആൻഡ് ദെൻ സബ്സിക്വൻ്റ്ലി I went through the COVID sequelae. I was going through a phase of depression when she had vomiting and headache, and she was diagnosed with a metastatic cancer of the brain. And she went quite quickly. 12 ദിവസം കൊണ്ട് പോയി. It is very difficult for me to cope. And I had a lot of thoughts, why me? It is very tough time. Because my children were going through equal amount of grief. My daughter and my wife were like sisters, and it is so difficult for her to take it. And she is my greatest refuge in my times of trouble. So it was difficult. I thought a lot, because I was sitting at home, had nothing to do, and I was looking at the bare walls, and I thought of the Gita. Then suddenly something started unwinding within me. Because as per the Gita, if you look at the soul, for example, it has no beginning and it has no end. That's when I started thinking, my God, she's in a better place, The other thing was, she's almost 10 years younger than me, and what would have happened if I had gone first and she had lived to stay alone like this, to sit alone like this, and go through her thoughts and go through her memories? It would have been terrible for her. That way, I am a much stronger man than her. So the Gita came in handy to use it as an interpretation for my being at that point in time. I became stronger. It is also true that I started myself on a wee bit of medication. I'm still on it, actually. And the third thing was karma. By the 9th day, before completing the rituals, I went back to work. And work keeps me busy because it's a great passion for me. It kept me busy. So this has worked on me. You look at other people, you have any number of children who are brought 2 days or 1 day before the exam, where she says or he says, I'm not writing this exam. I'm not prepared enough. I had 15 chapters to finish. I finished only 10 chapters. I'm not going to write. So I tell them, you are Arjuna. Arjuna Vishada Yoga. You go to the battlefield. This is the examination hall. You visualize the examination hall. You visualize this question. These are mostly people or children who visualize their thoughts. What they think comes as pictures. So the anxiety is much more. So I tell them, you think of yourself as Arjuna. You have palpitations, you have heaviness in the chest, you have a choking sensation, you have dryness in the mouth, you have a headache, you feel numb in the head, you feel tired in the morning, if you have a buckling effect, you can't get up and you don't feel strong enough. You feel tired and fatigued all the time, nothing goes into your head, the mind is so numb that nothing goes into your head, you have no concentration. True. It's all true. That's what Arjuna had. In 3 hours, he turned around. Why can't you turn around? Because it's all in you. You have changed the way you think about things. That's all. Cognitive restructuring. You change the way you think about things. You change the way you think about exams. Your worry is, if I fail, what will the teachers think? What will the friends think? What will my home think? How am I going to face people? These are all things that you think. Don't think. Because you have no right to think about the results. You do your duty to the best of your ability. Tomorrow, if you have exam anxiety, you go with the exam anxiety. Write what you can and come back. If you fail, it's fine. You have to take no for an answer. That's how you become strong. That's how Arjuna became strong. That's how you will become strong. So get strong. Any number. Because it's very easy, because you can easily relate to this culturally. Because we have all heard stories of the Kurukshetra battle. We have all heard of Arjuna and Bhagavan having a discourse. We all heard of the change that came over Arjuna. So it's culturally in all of us. There is some way or other it has influenced most people in this country. So it's huge. And why are we not using it? We are paying the West for what they call cognitive behavior therapy. This is the greatest, the tallest example of cognitive behavior therapy, which is quick and smart. It's very quick. 3 hours to make a fellow lead a battle. Half an hour is what I require, by God's grace. To change a girl who says, I am not going to take tomorrow's exams, to taking the tomorrow's exams without any reference to the result.
Full confidence.
Full confidence or no confidence at all, it doesn't matter. You go and write what you can. You do your karma, that's all.
Irrespective of what
the result is going to be.
I think the words you use is relentless, desireless action.
That's right, yes. That's the action. Relentless, without break. Desireless. A relentless desire. In my writings also, that's what I talk about. Relentless, desireless action.
40 years of practice in psychiatry, spearheaded myriad concepts in psychiatry, pioneered and become instrumental in so many changes in child psychiatry. What are your next projects? What do you plan to revolutionize now?
Okay. God has been very gracious to me and to my family, and we have reached this stage. One thing is that my mother told me, I have had a bypass surgery 20 years ago. I didn't expect to live because there are a couple of complications. But my mother told me, you're alive because it's not your eyes, it's not your life. This is bonus. So she used to tell me before she died, Marichi Vidunavare, till you drop down dead, you work. Because that's your reward, because it's not your life. It's a bonus. And on the other side, work gives me a passion. There are many patients who have told me that I see them with the same energy in the evening as the last case, as I saw he or her or him in the morning as a first case. So that's because there is a passion that keeps me going. I hope the Lord above helps me to do that without my becoming a dement. But there is, seriously, if there is a chance, there's something that I would like to do. That is, I started my career with an expert's position in the CBSE. I was instrumental in many of the provisions that the CBSE gives children with disorders. I don't call them disabilities. Learning disorders, motor coordination disorders. Some children have a difficulty to hold the pen and write. So all these things. And examination bylaws in CBSE, chapter 23, 24, 25, and 26. They were actually, I was actually instrumental in bringing this when Sri Ashok Gangli and Dr. Balasubramaniam were in the CBSE as chairman and academics director. They were very kind.
What do these chapters denote? What are the changes?
They denote the acceptance that these are disorders, where the child is not obstinate, the child is not careless, the child is not lazy. The child has a genuine problem in reading and understanding his book. If you read out to him, he will understand. When he writes, it doesn't come on the paper. He can answer the question, but he cannot write the answer. Many of us are like that, actually. They are good with their right brain skills, like this next generation. Music, art, painting, dancing, acting, mimicking. What they see once, they will never forget in their life. What they hear once, they will not forget. They are good in sports or games. They are good in fantasy thinking. They are good in kitchen. They are good in the naturalistic intelligence. They are looking after farming or looking after pets. They're good in cooking and homemaking. They're good in management. So they're good in all these skills that are more related to the right brain than the left brain, where reading and writing are involved. I want to take this forward, if it's possible. And I started off, as I said, by going to each individual school, teaching the teachers how to identify them. At that time, nobody had heard of the word dyslexia. Today, there are so many fathers for dyslexia. At the time we started this, and I was invited by the CBSE to Nagpur to address the national conference of the principals of CBSE schools. That's where it started. And Ashok Ganguly was there, and at the end of it, this is only one and only, the first and only standing ovation I received from all these principals who were gathered in Nagpur. And I was given this standing ovation for bringing out these difficulties that the teachers also face. We went forward, and I was invited by the CBSE to go to Delhi, and we had several meetings, and I was being treated as an expert for these things. And it was through those efforts of awareness creation and activism that we were able to bring these changes. Because most of these children who had difficulty to get marks, I call it poor school performance, PSP. So I describe the causes of poor school performance in children as ADHD, as learning disorders, as emotional and behavior disorders, as language disorders. There are many children who are unable to express their language. So these were taken into consideration. These children were given these provisions. And I want to go back to the same thing now. I started off with giving awareness to schools by going with my team. We have a large team of people who are associated with this, who are clinical psychologists, who are educational psychologists, and who are language pathologists, and who are special educators. I go to the schools with this group, and we used to talk about this to the teachers, and then later to the parents of children who are affected. So it was possible for us to create this awareness, which changed a lot of things, and which took away the stigma of having to go to a center or a psychiatrist for a child's problems. Because this actually is a bait. When you fish, you use a bait. This is like a bait. You talk to the parents about the child's academic performance or academic non-performance, post-scholastic performance, PSP, then that affects their pride. So it pushes them to seek help, apparently for the academic problems. But when they are brought, we do a comprehensive assessment.
And then you teach them that.
We do a comprehensive assessment. We look at the neurodevelopmental disorders. That's why when you talk about ADHD, I know that ADHD does not stand alone on its feet. ADHD has to do with a lot of the other spectrum of disorders. Language disorders, speech disorders, motor coordination disorders. So they still are not able to even hold their pen. They hold it at the tip and press down, and then they can't write. When they write fast, they lose the legibility of the handwriting. So even such small things affect their schooling. And they also feel that schooling has nothing to do with education. I don't know whether you remember what Mark Twain said. I never let my schooling interfere with my education, because there's a difference between schooling and education. Schooling is this reading and writing stuff, which your generation will not need, the next generation will not need at all, because everything is going to be online, everything is online, everything is going to be audiobooks, everything is going to be dictaphones. So you don't need to do these things. Actually, the Lord above did not create the left side inferior frontal gyrus for reading and writing. He made the inferior frontal gyrus for language, just language. And we'll go back there actually. There will be no more reading and writing. It's going to be the generation of the right brain dominant children. So your reading and writing will go out through the window. But we still have to have schooling at least till 7th standard. The new education policy, national education policy, the NEP is going to be skill-based education, because the country has realized this is what we need. When the previous education minister, Ramesh Pokhriyal, was there, that's the time when there was a recognition that this is important, that you have skills. Because each child may be good with music or art or dancing or homemaking or whatever, it could be anything. There are children who are good with directions. So the Navy conducts a course called Directions and Navigation. One course there that this just simple fact of being good in navigation and direction is enough to create a career for you, to stand on your own 2 feet and become a good citizen. That's what the teachers have to understand. You stop looking at skill deficits and you start looking for skills in each child. So I
Then
want
develop on that.
and develop on that. That's what I want to do, if that's possible. Because now technology is available. You have webinars. There are 1,500 CBSE schools. If you have 60 teachers in one school, you have 90,000 teachers in the country, in the state, in CBSE alone. You can speak to them through 2 webinars. If you can do that and make them go through a structured, workshop where they identify these symptoms in their children in their class, they will learn that these children who have these difficulties, they have this disorder, and it has to be interfered with, and you have to do intervention. So that intervention becomes possible for these children, so that they can take off on their skills that God has given them. Not looking at the spelling mistakes they made. ഇവിടെ ഒരുപാട് സെൻറ്റേഴ്സ് അങ്ങനെ ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞില്ലേ ഈ മഷ്റൂംസ് സെൻറ്റേഴ്സ് ബീയിങ് കൂടെ തിരിഞ്ഞു അതിനെ ഇരിക്കുക അങ്ങനെ ഐ യൂസ് ടു ഡു ദാറ്റ് ടു വെൻ ഐ സ്റ്റാർട്ടഡ് ബട്ട് നൗ it has to go to the waste paper basket because technology will overcome all these difficulties. So you look for the skills so the children can go on to become useful citizens by using the skills, the talent that is in their brain to choose a vocation and stand on their own 2 feet. I think that is the ultimate that anybody can do. I hope I live to do that and I get the support to do that.
On that note, we come to an end to this fascinating conversation. Thank you, sir, for taking time out for IMA Cochin.
The privilege is mine. Thank you very much.